Manager for Sikorsky's commercial business. We are thrilled to have so many of you with us today and look forward to sharing our story with you. In just a few moments, Sikorsky's President, Dan Schultz, will kick off today's event. As some of you may know, Dan is an accomplished Marine pilot with over 3,000 flight hours in the CH-53 Echo helicopter. Prior to becoming president of Sikorsky, a Lockheed Martin company, Dan spent 10 years with Lockheed Martin in varying roles, including leading the Sikorsky Integration Management Office and serving as Vice President of Ship and Aviation Systems line of business. While on active duty with the U.S. Marine Corps, Dan was the program manager for the Joint B-22 Osprey program. He also held several commanding officer positions. Dan will be followed by our Vice President of Sikorsky's Commercial Systems and Support, Dana Fiedaroni. Dana joined Sikorsky more than a decade ago, supporting S-76 and S-92 aircraft business development. He has served in a series of roles of increasing responsibility during his tenure. His positions have included General Counsel for Sikorsky's Aftermarket Service and Support and Vice President Strategy and Executive Assistant to the President. Prior to joining Sikorsky, Dana represented public and private companies in connection with all phases of mergers and acquisitions. Following these presentations, we will proceed into a moderated Q&A session. We have until 9:45 in this room, so I've asked that if you have any follow-ups that you contact me directly for any additional questions or interview requests. My information is on the advisory that you've been handed today, which also outlines all the events that we have going on and that we hope you can attend. So thank you again for being here today.
Like that video as much as I did as a helicopter guy. Nothing makes me more excited than to see helicopters operating in so many different environments. I thought what I'd do today is talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going and some of our highlights from last year. When I addressed this group last year, it was all about the integration of Sikorsky into Lockheed Martin. And so it's a year later and a lot of progress in that, and I'll cover that in a brief as well. So let me start off with the S-92. We have there's a picture up there. It's me with the flight crew. We, as a collective team, achieved 1 million flight hours in about 11 years. And that's really remarkable for any airplane. And its safety record has just been second to none. And I'm really proud of that airplane. We put I was actually there when we had the 1 millionth hours written on the side of it. And I was kind of expecting everybody to kind of sit around and have a cup of coffee or something, and those pilots said, "Get out of the way, we're going," and they took off into the North Sea. And so we celebrated for a few minutes anyway, and then off it went back to work again. I don't think that people realize what happens in Aberdeen, Scotland, and Stavanger, and down in Lafayette, where every single day these helicopters take off and fly into some of the more difficult areas of the world and deliver people and back everywhere, every time. In fact, we saw a video last night with some of the work that Cougar's doing up in Newfoundland, taking off in completely whited out conditions every single day, and I'm always proud of what they do. So the 92 has been an incredible airplane. 11 nations have selected the 92 for head of state, and it's also the airplane that has been chosen to fly for our president. And in that presidential mission, we're moving along very well on that program. Everything's going exceedingly well with us in the Navy as we develop this aircraft. We're going to fly later this summer, and those airplanes are in production up in Stratford, Connecticut. Next slide. The 76 fleet has been remarkable. 7 million hours out there. We have, if you haven't been to our booth yet, take a look at that 76D out there. It has a 5P damper system. I promise you, if you get a chance to fly in the back of that airplane, you and I can have a conversation without a microphone, sitting just like next to each other talking, no headphones. You can put a cup of coffee down, it doesn't move. And even during banks, I've flown it myself and been in the back of it a dozen times. It is the quietest airplane you'll ever fly in. It is a great VIP airplane, but more importantly, it is a workhorse that's out there every single day flying out to our oil rigs and around in search and rescue. And lately, it's even been modified for all different kinds of missions. So I'm always happy to see that airplane in so many versatile roles. Next slide. The acquisition anniversary. So today's a little bit more than a year. And you know, every time you disconnect from one company and go into another company, there's always challenges. We had all kinds of things that faced us as we went through, but I'm happy to tell you today that all of our employees are now Lockheed Martin employees. They're all part of the Lockheed Martin LM People system. They all get paid through Lockheed Martin. We are completely severed from UTC. And that means a lot to us, both in the people and belonging to a bigger company, but more importantly, it's the way we go to market. Between us, when we go out internationally to a foreign country, we go anywhere in the world, we go as Lockheed Martin and Sikorsky together. So the name Sikorsky still is kept, and if you look at our business cards, it has the star with Sikorsky's name in it. Very powerful tool for us to be part of a big company that has a world footprint and brings us into a market where we have the commercial part that really helps to expand Lockheed Martin going forward. So the synergy's been fantastic, and the acquisition has gone better than I expected. Next slide. International Black Hawk. We've been, the demand for International Black Hawks has been remarkable around the world. We continue to have airplanes, helicopters being asked for on a number of occasions. So I'm pretty excited. I just got back from Turkey. We are about to start a big production in Turkey. We are the principal provider of helicopters there. We just took an airplane from Poland and flew it all the way to Turkey to begin the integration of the cockpit with the Selsan, the production for Alp Aviation, and under contract with TAI, Turkish Aircraft Industries. A very dynamic program and a lot of investment across all those companies going forward. So real good work going forward. We got Saudi National Guard, Jordan, a long list of countries that are interested in the Black Hawk. We're about to sign a multi-year 9 contract with the United States Army for further on production of the Black Hawk. It is an airplane that is resilient. It's an airplane that people need and want, and it is another airplane that continues to move in utility missions all the time. If you haven't seen LA County Fire Department working with the Black Hawk as a firefighting helicopter, you really haven't been watching what's been going on. I'll tell you, I saw videos of these pilots flying this airplane in some of the most demanding conditions. The Dragon never sleeps, and they have been dumping water on those fires around the clock at night on goggles in some of the most demanding situations around. I'm really proud of what they do. So the Black Hawk is not only a military airplane, but it does firefighting, it does utility, search and rescue, medevac. It's and recently, later on we'll show you in a video, you might have seen it in the first part of the video, where the Coast Guard just celebrated their 100th, their centennial for aviation. And they flew a yellow Jayhawk up to Sikorsky and landed it at our facility. They tell a great story about, in the beginning, you know, as you know, our history goes back to Igor Sikorsky, where his dream was to rescue somebody by helicopter. And the Coast Guardsmen do that every single day. And to do it in our airplane is something that we take with a lot of pride with what they do and how they fly it. And so we're excited that they came to our factory and celebrated their centennial with us. A great milestone and achievement. Next slide. So the 53K, as you probably heard, I'm a 53 pilot, so I love the 53, I love the K. That airplane is the most amazing airplane I've ever been around. It is going to change the word heavy lift. We lifted 89,000 pounds off the ground, gross weight, picked that up without even thinking about it. The airplane, we have 4 of them in flight tests. They achieved every milestone faster than I thought they would. We're going to a big milestone C coming up. We're lifting 27,000 pounds like it's nothing. The airplane handles so smooth. In fact, I watched them pick a load up the other day, and I thought that it was painted on the sky. And I asked the pilots, I said, you guys can't be that good. And they said, this flight control system is so stable that the airplane can do anything. And this was with about a 20-knot crosswind. So this airplane is going to surprise a lot of people in what its capabilities are. It also has a refueling probe and et cetera. The second piece I want to talk about is customer support. A year ago when I talked to you all, I was disappointed in Sikorsky's response to customer support. We've kind of lost our sauce, our secret sauce of how we take care of our airplanes. A lot of our customers were upset with us, and Dana and I faced that, and we made a commitment last year to change that. And Dana's going to give you some more about that as we go forward. We have this little saying that I tell them all the time: we don't give up until you're back up. And our teams have been around the clock. We've hired dozens and dozens of people as customer reps. We've gotten our factories turned around to be supporting AOGs, aircraft on the ground. And we tell our people that we are going to make sure that our customers have airplanes that are ready and operational every single day. If you look at those missions out in the North Sea, you look at those missions down in firefighting, you look at missions up in Newfoundland, these are airplanes that have to be ready and have to be reliable. And so we've rededicated ourselves at Sikorsky to do just that. And Dana will give you data that shows that we've really made a difference. We've also done a lot of forward stocking locations as well, and we're seeing turnaround times, Dana, what, in less than an hour. You get a request, and less than an hour we have the part to you. So that's the kind of thing we've changed. I'm really proud to tell you that that's something that we set out to do, and I think we've gone a long way to do that. Next one. The last one I want to talk about is Raider and Defiant. Raider is a lighter aircraft. We just this year donated the X2 to the Smithsonian. We were the last induction into the Smithsonian. Sergey was there with me, Sergey Sikorsky, and it was the Smithsonian folks were excited about having it, and having a ceremony where we had the Collier, because you know the Raider won the Collier Award or the X2 won the Collier Award. It went 262 knots and a slight dive, but it was about 250 straight flat out. Raider is a bigger airplane, and Defiant is the growth airplane behind that. Raider's flying down. It's flying down at West Palm Beach. I can tell you that we're about 170 knots with just the rotors, well over 225 with the prop engaged. But the thing that's unique about that airplane is without the prop engaged, you can barely hear it. So it's an amazingly quiet airplane because they're advanced blades at the same time. There's no retreating blade stall. And that's the precursor for Defiant, which is our team with Boeing Aircraft Company. We are teamed with the Phantom Works. We're very integrated together, and we're building that airplane together, both Boeing and us at the same time. So I have a quick video of it, and then I'll turn it over to Dana.
very quiet Raiders, a flight from last week. And so that aircraft is still operational and flying down in West Palm Beach. I'm pretty excited about that also, and maybe looking forward to some collaboration with that team going forward. So I want to thank Callie for the introduction and Dan for covering the high level of Sikorsky and some of the programs on the commercial side as well as the military side of the company. And I also want to, I guess I'm going to borrow a phrase from Lockheed Martin, and maybe this will tell you how well the integration is going, because it's one of my favorite phrases that they use. So you're going to hear me foot stomp, I think, some of what Dan said, and really kind of cover some of the same ground with some of what I'm going to talk about. But as I did last year, I'll give you some of the 2016 highlights. And if you were here last year, you may recognize some of these things or what I said we would do in 2016. So we'll give you a 2016 year in review. I'm going to dive a little bit into some of the commercial support improvements that we've made. I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do for 2017, some of the goals and objectives we have. I'll share with you some of that overarching strategy for the commercial business at Sikorsky. And I'm going to ad-lib a little bit at the end, and I'm going to share what I shared with my team yesterday at our pre-show meeting, because I think it's an important message for everybody in the room to hear. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to encourage all of you to stop by the booth. So we've got two beautiful aircraft at the booth. If you haven't had a chance to walk by the booth already, they're hard to miss, especially that S-92. It's a beautiful ship, and it really takes up the entire room. We've also got a number of demonstrations, new aftermarket service and support tools that my team can walk you through at the booth. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. So I'd encourage you to do that if you have a chance. We're going to be here all week, obviously, so you can stop by and ask us questions whenever you have them. For this chart in particular, I'm just going to kind of walk around it, and I'll end at customer support. So Dan mentioned that the S-92 achieved 1 million fleet flight hours. And I'd like to say it coincided with my start at Sikorsky, but I started maybe a few months after the first delivery of the S-92. First delivered in 2004, I started in 2005. So I can't take full credit for it, but I'll take partial credit for it. The great thing about that aircraft, right, it's full multi-mission aircraft. I mean, it's a great search and rescue aircraft. It's a great utility aircraft. It does yeoman's work for offshore oil platforms. It achieved 1 million flight hours, as Dan said, in 11, 12 years, which is really a true testament to the way that the aircraft was designed, the way it's manufactured, and more importantly, the way that our operators use the aircraft. I had a chance last year to spend some time in some of the difficult areas that Dan mentioned, up in Newfoundland, Canada. I went to the North Sea to see our operators in Aberdeen, to see our operators in Stavanger. And I gotta tell you, the way that the aircraft responds, the way that the maintainers work on that aircraft, the conversations with the pilots, and I'll tell you, maybe the proudest thing that I heard was the confidence that the passengers getting onto the aircraft every day, having the aircraft was a real proud moment for me in 2016. Likewise, on the S-76D, it's a newer aircraft. We've got about 50 of those aircraft delivered at this point, but it passed 10,000 flight hours last year as well. And that aircraft is now operational in 4 mission segments: in offshore oil, in EMS, in search and rescue, as well as VIP. I recently had a chance to go see an EMS operation for that aircraft, and I got to tell you there as well, it was just a tremendous experience to see the way that aircraft can be a life-saving tool in the hands of skilled maintainers, pilots, and dedicated nurses and physicians. While I was at that location, I actually got to see a live call. I took some pictures of it. Staff put an incubator into the S-76D, responded to an emergency neonatal care situation. They showed up at the hangar, everybody jumped on board, towed the aircraft out, they taxied, took off, and saved a life. And it was really, again, it was just a proud moment for me to work at such a great company and provide such a great life-saving tool to those folks. With respect to aftermarket, when we talked last year, we talked a little bit about the offshore oil and gas downturn and what that would mean for Sikorsky and what we thought we would focus on. And one of the things we said we would focus on, and Dan mentioned this, is getting back to the basics, right? Really focusing on customer service and support. And we saw that response from our customers. We were able to secure a number of long-term contracts. We call them total assurance programs, some of them spanning a decade, and that will provide us great stability in the business going forward, but it will also provide our operators great stability, knowing that they have full support from Sikorsky for the next decade. So we were real pleased with the way that our flight hour capture program worked last year. You see AAG, it's Associated Aircraft Group there. We don't talk about Associated Aircraft Group a tremendous amount, but we do have our president, Scott Ashton, in the room with us, and our Chief Operating Officer, Ray Altieri, in the room with us. Those are pretty familiar names, I think, to anybody in the industry. That's our New York-based VIP, charter, and fractional sales management aircraft business. It's a great resource for Sikorsky. They've got 11 managed aircraft, all 76 fleet. They've got a maintenance, repair, and overhaul capability. Last year, they passed 55,000 flight hours of safe flying time in those aircraft, so they're a very skilled operator, a long-time operator of Sikorsky products. And as well, they achieved for the third consecutive year in a row the FAA Diamond Award for maintenance training. And so it's a real fantastic group for us to have access to. They're going to be at the booth as well. So if you have questions about transport around the Northeast Corridor or in the New York City area, you can talk to Scott or Ray. And then one final thing I'd like to mention is they had a unique opportunity over the last couple of years to partner with a group called PALS, Patient Airlift Services. And they provide free transport for those in need of medical assistance without the resources to get that type of need. And so again, it was a real neat opportunity for us to provide lift in a life-saving mission. From a certification perspective, we continue to follow our customers either in advance of their need as we talk to them or in collaboration with them so that they can operate the aircraft in the jurisdictions where they have business opportunities. And I think this is important more now than ever, given some of the slowdown in the oil and gas market. And so last year we partnered with one of our customers and we were able to achieve certification for both the S-76 and S-92 aircraft in Colombia to allow our operators to continue to fly in that region. We expanded our EASA S-76D VIP certification as well. So we continue to remain committed to our customers and getting them flying in the regions where they have business opportunities. And I'll finish this slide with the customer support initiatives. So Dan mentioned we had some work to do on customer support. We had lost our way. I think we found it. We made tremendous strides in 2016 to provide our customers the world-class levels of service and support that they deserve, and that they, quite frankly, came to expect from Sikorsky over the past decade. And while we slipped, we did make strides, and we've got more work to do, and I'll talk a little bit about the additional work we're going to do. I would like to share with you some of those strides. So we hired more than 100 additional staff into our customer service roles. We put forward our forward stocking locations, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. We commemorated our customer care center. We also opened our AOG 24-hour response center. And all those things are having a significant impact on our service and support. So all told, we now have the 4 forward stocking locations. We've got 20 authorized customer service centers. We've got more than 100 customer service reps and field service reps deployed into the field, working day in and day out with our operators, all supporting about 1,000 fleet aircraft around the world. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we do continue to make strides. We've got more work to do, but I did want to share with you just some of the metrics that we keep and that we work with our customers throughout the year to work on. I think, I'm proud of all of them, but there's kind of a story behind each one. And so that first metric of aircraft availability greater than 95% is in respect of both of our S-76 and our S-92 fleets. And I'll tell you in particular on the S-92 fleet, that aircraft availability mark is one that I'm extremely proud of. And the reason I am is because that mark came with an increase of flight hours for the S-92 last year, more than 20%. We had a meeting about mid-year with a number of our international oil company customers and our oil and gas operators, and they asked us, if we have this spike in demand for flight hours of the S-92, are you going to be able to support us? They were concerned about that, so we hosted them in Connecticut. We showed them the facility. We showed them the great men and women that build the aircraft, from the dynamic system all the way through final assembly down in our coastal Pennsylvania plant. We shared with them our commitment to them, and we followed through and we achieved 95% availability for that aircraft despite the increase in flight hours and the ongoing demands for that aircraft. So they were real pleased with that, and we were real proud of that as well. One of the biggest pain points for our customers was our response time and the number of occurrences we had for AOG, so aircraft on ground events. And I'm proud to say that we reduced both. We reduced the number of AOG occurrences almost by 3/4. You can see there's 72%. And we reduced the turnaround time, our response time to our customers, by 66%. And we did that really by 2 methods. And the first is the Customer Care Center commemoration. It's a state-of-the-art facility. If you haven't had a chance to see it, we love to show it off. And I'm happy to extend an invitation to you to come see that center. But that's coupled with our AOG response center. So we now have a full IPT, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to respond to our customers' parts and technical needs. It's a really fantastic capability that we have, and that has really impacted the ability for us to respond to our customer requirements in a timely fashion. And the second piece of this is that customer care center also comes with a significant group of folks that work on data analytics, demand asset planning, and forecasting work. And I've got Simon Garibian with me here at the booth if you want additional information on the great work that the data analytics team is doing. But by and large, what they're doing is they're taking big data from our fleet, particularly the S92 Hummer data that we have. They're working with removal data, with warranty data, pulling all that data together and putting parts in stock before our customers demand them. And so what used to be an AOG now turns into a routine shipment for us, many times in advance of the customer requirement. So that's a real fantastic benefit for us. And finally, on the chart, we've got a +4 there, and I'll ask, when we go to the next slide, and I'll talk a little bit about those forward stocking locations and what those mean to us. But again, this was in direct response to our customers' request. They asked, we listened, and we acted. And so I'm proud to say that we've opened the 4 locations, so you can see we're now in Scotland, we're in Norway, we're in Australia, and we're in Brazil. And I'll tell you, what used to take a day or 2 days to get a part from the US to the North Sea locations, and in some cases up to 5 days just to get the part from the US to the Australia location, is now taking less than a day around the world, and in some instances, less than an hour. I'll tell you, we've had exceptional performance with increasing output as well. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our Stavanger, Norway facility, because I consider it our lead the fleet forward stocking location. It was the first one we opened. We opened it mid last year, and in Q3, we made 12 shipments out of that forward stocking location. So I like to call that humble beginnings. So just 12 shipments. In the fourth quarter, we made over 250 shipments from that location. And we've already passed 250 shipments through February of this year. So I consider that to be a little bit, I'll call it like my personal Amazon experience, right? First year I bought maybe 2 things using Prime, and I think my family of 5 is now doing 100 or so transactions a year. And so that's the way I think about the forward stocking locations. I think that's the experience that our customers are having given the uptick in orders and given the conversations that I've had with them. They're very proud of the fact that they can call into a Sikorsky number and 36 minutes later from our Stavanger, Norway location have the part already ready for them. The other thing that we're doing is we're taking a look at the stocking levels that we have at those forward stocking locations. I mentioned our ability with data analytics, and we're bringing that to bear with the forward stocking locations as well. So we're not just putting a pile of parts there and saying good luck. We're actually taking an analytics view of part demand for those regions, and each region has a different part demand, and making certain that we stock the right parts in there at the right time. The next thing that we're doing is we're looking at pull demand. So if we start to see high pull demand for one part in the region, we'll forward stock additional parts to cover that. If we see less demand in that region, we'll take those parts and move them elsewhere as well. It really is about our increased focus on serving our customers around the globe. Wherever they are, we want to be near them. Go to the next slide. So I'll give you just a little bit about 2017 and what that looks like for us, and some of the things that I think we're going to be paying attention to in 2017, and then hopefully when I'm standing here in 2018, I'll tell you, we accomplished all these things that we set out to accomplish. Some of them are pretty simple because some of them already happened. So give myself an easy check for that first one, the S-76 fleet surpassing 7 million fleet flight hours. I'll tell you again, it's a real testament to that aircraft. It's 4-decade legacy, 800 or so aircraft delivered into the field. It flies multiple missions every day, everywhere, and it does it safely and reliably. That platform actually performs 10 head of state missions, including flying for the Queen of England. It's a truly great aircraft that we're real proud of, and so we look forward to continuing to accumulate flight hours on that aircraft. You see the picture of the S-92 on the bottom. I mentioned that we were up 20% year over year in flight hours in 2016. While I wouldn't commit to Dan that we would be up another 20%, in 2017 I do expect there to continue to be upward pressure on flight hours for that aircraft. Our customers have responded very well to the increased flight hours. We've responded very well to support those increased flight hours, and I expect to continue to see increases in the S-92 flight hours in 2017 as well. I also expect to see the S-76D to continue to have an uptick in flight hours, particularly in the offshore oil region as it continues to gain traction there. So I'm looking forward to that. In the middle, I'll talk a little bit about some of our additional customer support initiatives. And again, I would encourage you to come by the booth because both of these will be demonstrated at the booth, so you'd have a chance to see how these things worked. When I stood here last year, we talked about the flight crew operating manuals. We gave Heli Offshore a tremendous amount of credit for pushing those forward for the industry, and they deserve that credit. And this is really the fruition of what they had expected from all of the OEMs. And so last year we had a draft release of the FCOMs. It went through extensive peer review in 2016, and we have now released the FCOMs to the operator. So we have fully functioning flight crew operating manuals. They're paired with the iFly app, so you can use them through that as well. And like I said, you can stop by the booth and you can see how those work as well for, I'll call them routine pre-flight checks up into emergency situations as well. And so it's a great resource to give to the crews. The bottom logo there, Sikorsky 360. We're making a number of additional improvements in the way that we interact with our customers. We're trying to make it easier to do business with us. We're trying to make it so that it's customizable, so that they get the information that they want about their aircraft fleets. So what we're doing now is we're going to be able to take our Elotrack system and our Sikorsky 360 system, put those systems together so that all the information is available in one location and customizable, so that our operators can look at the information the way they want to see it and the data that they want to see. So again, I encourage you to come by the booth and you'll be able to see a demonstration of that as well. And then finally, we continue to work with our customers on important initiatives for the industry and for our customers, and we continue to see growth opportunities for our aircraft. I'll touch on just two examples for customer collaboration. I think the first was just released. We did announce an agreement that we're working on with the Bristow Group to provide ab initio training for Sikorsky pilots around the world. Those wishing to become Sikorsky pilots, I should say, around the world. We're really excited about this initiative. We offer Sikorsky specific training at our Stewart facility in Florida. We partner with FSI for training as well. But oftentimes, when we get new pilots in, it's difficult to get them into a transition of an aircraft the size of an S-76 or an S-92. And with this agreement with Bristow Group, we'll be able to provide that ab initio training, get them to a standard level of training, and either provide additional training or put them right into one of our other training programs. So I think that's going to be a very good initiative to support the fleet around the world. And the next example is one, again, a tremendous amount of fun, and something I think that the industry has been looking for quite a while, and that is demonstrating real-time HUMS capability off of our S-92 aircraft. So we collaborated with our longtime customer PHI and Outerlink of Metro Aviation, and we now have the ability to do real-time HUMS monitoring of our aircraft during flights. We're going to have a little bit more information about that, so I don't want to provide the full press release at this point, but it's an exciting capability that will provide additional situational awareness for the pilot. So if you get a warning light in the cockpit, that warning light gets transmitted back to the ground station operations center immediately, and that ground station center immediately can look at the HUMS data and the related data for the aircraft, and they can provide that additional information to the pilot. So the pilot's not alone anymore. The pilot's not just looking at a caution light and running through the rotorcraft flight manual. They have immediate contact with the flight operations center at PHI, and they can troubleshoot that problem together. The other thing that does is it also provides additional maintenance capability. So if you've got an issue in the cockpit during a flight, you could pre-position material and maintainers in advance because you already know what's going on with that aircraft. You don't have to land, download the HUMS data, wait the half hour to do the analysis, and then figure out what's wrong. So that real-time HUMS, I think, is a real discriminator for us. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that released broadly. And then finally, growing opportunities. So we mentioned last year oil and gas markets are down, and we told you that we would focus on search and rescue opportunities, EMS opportunities, and VIP opportunities. And we've won a few contracts in that space. We're pretty proud of that as well. And we're going to continue to see increased demand, particularly from a North American and Asia VIP perspective, as well as EMS perspective. And I think for the 92, we're really starting to see a lot of interest in paramilitary missions as well. So we know that we've got a tremendous opportunity in front of us, even though the oil and gas market's